And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our keynote speakers. Eric Kuhl from the Federal Computing Center in Austria, as I call it, BRZ is a lot easier, and Martin Ziegler from the Ministry of Finance. Welcome, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your invitation. My name is Martin Ziegler and my colleague Gerhard Köhler. We would like to talk to you about our new gambling control system. I am proud to be the product manager of this system. In 2010, the Austrian government passed new gambling laws, and therefore we had to develop a new gambling control system. I would like to introduce our main goals of this project. They are the following 3 points. Number 1 is protection of players from addiction by enforcing regulations. These include minimum and maximum payout ratios, ensuring randomness of wins, limits on pay-ins and payouts, minimum time limits of games, and mandatory cool-down phases in between games. Number 2, new measures for greater transparency and more efficient tax collection. And last but not least, number 3, good cooperation between the legal side, the finance office, the financial police, the Austrian federal provinces, and also the concessionaires. Since in such a complex project, it is important to work together. These goals were our guidelines in the development of our new system. And now, I would like to hand you over to Mr. Köhler.
Thank you. Thanks, Martin. Well, when I got off the plane in the US, a lady beside me asked me what I'm doing in the US, and I said, yeah, I'm talking about gambling regulation in Las Vegas. So she asked me, who the hell would be interested in regulation of gambling in Las Vegas? So I wondered, and I think it's really what Martin just said in the end, it's cooperation. And what Peter said before as well, it's collaboration. And for cooperation, we need communication. We need a common language, and that's what we need standards for. So yeah, we have these 3 goals, and I want to talk about how we tried to reach these goals, and we built there on 3 pillars. That is, first of all, regulation, like all legal requirements for the machines, most important for you. All EGMs in Austria and all VLTs in Austria will have to be connected to a central server at the Federal Computing Center, or BRZ. Then licensing, second of all. For connecting these EGMs, we need to know where they are. We need to register them. We need to register the EGMs, the locations, and so on. And third of all, what we do all this for in the end is control. And I'll go into detail, especially into regulation, a little bit into licensing, and then into control. Now, first of all, regulation. All our legal stuff bases on several regulation items. That is, first of all Europeans will know the European Union regulation, then also the Austrian overall regulation, the gambling law of 2010. And 2012 we extended these for casino venues. Also, we have provincial regulations. Austria is very tiny, but still we have for every province a separate regulation that does make things a bit more complicated, as you can imagine. And then what is very important, we have a legal ordinance that tells how EGMs and VLTs have to be built, and I'll go into detail about that in a second. Now, we have 2 types of gaming machines in Austria. It's first of all what we call Glücksspielautomaten, what I will refer to as EGMs in the rest of this presentation. They're under provincial licenses or under federal casino licenses. And then we have video lottery terminals that are under federal lottery license. Now the only difference is that the random number generation is for VLTs is outside of the machines. That's really the only difference, technically spoken. We have 4 types of venues. And our single machine venues with up to 3 EGMs. I think there is no concession so far of this type. Then we have EGM saloons and VLT outlets with up to 50 VLTs, and there's casinos with no limits. We designed all these systems for up to 15,000 EGMs. So as you can see, we have and you will see, we have a quite comprehensive legal regulation. What makes it even more important, and it's very challenging for the machine manufacturers and concessionaires to implement these regulations, as some guys here will know. That's what it makes it even more important to fight against illegal gambling, and there was a special force created for that in Austria, which is the financial police. My focus today will be the legal gambling, though. About regulation, we didn't that's about the legal ordinance. As you might guess, we didn't really invent these things ourselves. We looked around in the industry. We did a market screening first. We looked what's existing in the world. We talked to industry experts. Klaus Achmüller was one of our experts. He is probably not here. But in the end, after some while, when we selected G2S, it was also Ethan Tower who did a very good job in helping us establishing all this. And yeah, in the legal ordinance, you have a whole list what's contained in there. It's about hardware and software requirements and so on. Most important, it says that G2S message protocol and the P2P transport protocol have to be used for communication with the central server. Now we have some more regulation about, for example, inside how the inside of the EGMs have to look like. For example, a logic box with sensors, which is kind of standard already in the industry. And we have some specialties which are not so much common in the industry, but makes it more challenging for manufacturers implementing this. We have, for example, the requirement of a USB connection for a cryptographic hardware token, which I will show you in a bit, because we kind of need to identify the machines. As you might guess, there's not only one machine in Austria. In location, we have several machines. For example, here 9 that wouldn't ever exist. As I said before, it's minimum 10, but it's just a symbol. Well, if we have 9 machines in a location, we need to identify those. And how do we do this? First of all, we have to identify the EGM type. We do that by a software signature. And we have a hardware identification number. It's just a static number. And then we need to identify the EGM itself. And we do that with a traditional manufacturer badge, but also with a QR code that has all essential information on it or in it, and we can read it with mobile devices. So what we also have is seals. We can see one seal here that says Glücksspielaufsicht with the Ministry of Finance logo on it. And then we also have 2 more seals, one on the hardware token, which we can see here, and then one more seal between the hardware token and the EGM. So if someone tears out the hardware token, we can see it because the seal is broken. Now these hardware tokens, they're handed out by the Ministry of Finance. And don't ask me details about the cryptography things. Ethan knows much more about that stuff than I do. But they contain a RSA 2048-bit private key, and this key is the keys for the EGMs are generated, stored, and used on the tokens themselves. So this is kind of a special thing that we established in Austria, and it's a hardware topic also, because you need to put that USB token somewhere inside the logic box, obviously. Now, a location is connected to the central node of a concessionaire, and this central node of the concessionaire is then connected to the Federal Computing Center. And as you might guess again, we don't only have one location, but we have several locations, and in the end we'll have locations in all Austria. This is Austria, by the way. In the whole country. Right now, the first concessionaire established locations in Lower Austria, which is not what's up mountain, as Ethan was guessing before. It's just a province, like very close to Vienna, and those are the first machines connected. Now, how do we do all this? And that's really not hard to guess. We do this by, as I said before, with the G2S protocol. We have a requirement of several classes to be implemented. Not all the G2S protocol needs to be implemented, but those classes listed here. For us, it was very important to have the audit meters class. So we were very glad that this was implemented, or this was included in version 2.1 of the G2S protocol. Now, for security reasons, we have all communication encrypted, and also all communication is stored in an archive, which is unalterable, so we can always see what happened in the communication between machines and the central system. Now, another thing that you can guess is that we didn't implement the G2S protocol ourselves, because the Ministry of Finance and the Federal Computing Center has other expertise. So we did a tender and we tried to find someone implementing something that we called the G2S protocol engine. And I can tell you it was not easy. But finally we got Comtrade contracted, who implemented this G2S protocol engine, what you can see up there, which is the front end to all EGMs and VLTs. And behind that we have our own systems to manage the data that we get via the G2S protocol engine. Maybe in the end, Ivan La, who is here from Comtrade, can also tell us something about challenges implementing the system, or if you have any technical question, he can answer those. We have here a screenshot of some messages that we can see in the administrational tool there. Well, why did we choose G2S? Why did we go with G2S after looking at the whole market? And it was three things. Because we really believe in standards. It's one core strategy of Federal Computing Center in Austria, to go with standards as far as it's possible, as far as legal requirements allow that. Then also because we wanted a modern system, we wanted a modern basis with full functionality for control. Since we did a new system, we didn't want to go with old protocols, and because it's defined by the industry. We were in Italy and we looked at the Italian system. They wanted to offer us to use their system as well, but in the end they said if G2S would have existed when they established their system, they would have used G2S as well. Now that gave you a quick overview on the regulation in Austria, and I want to go quickly through licensing. That's just a quick overview. Like, first of all, there's a word and a legal notification, and then we need to get all the EGMs and all the information on EGMs and locations into the system. Therefore, we developed a tool that was developed by the Federal Computing System Center together with the Ministry of Finance. And we have all licenses, all locations, all EGMs and seals and tokens, and everything is administered in there. And it's a tool where all parties work in together. It's not like we put the data in. The concessionaires themselves can put in data for locations and EGMs, and then the provinces and the Ministry of Finance work with this data. You can see a quick screenshot here. Unfortunately, it's in German, but some of you know some German, especially Ethan got better and better with his German in the last 2 years. Yeah, that's an example how a new location is entered, and you can see on the left that there's the system is quite comprehensive, and it has lots of functionality. But what is more important for us is, and the last thing I want to talk about is control, what we use all this for. Now, we have three elements. That's, first of all, that EGMs are tested by third-party test labs. You're quite used to that already in the industry. And then we have overall monitoring. We can monitor all events in the system. And also we have event-based warnings, like in some circumstances we get warnings if some situation occurs that is of interest. And then we have on-site inspection as a third element. And I want to talk about monitoring and on-site inspection. Regarding monitoring, as I said, we have the automated event monitoring and event-based warnings. I brought another screenshot there. And what we did is, it's unfortunately German again, but I'll explain it to you. We gave the events priorities. We said like the logic box door open is more important than some other events, so we gave them high, low, and medium priority. And then we put a filter on all events that can occur in the whole system, and all of the potentially 15,000 EGMs connected. And then we can select the events that are of interest for us. We can select the concessionaire, we can select the location, and the EGM, and the time frame, and so on. So we can really filter down to what we want to see. You can see a result list down there. Now, we don't have anyone sitting there the whole day just watching events going on. That would be kind of not such an intelligent job. That's why we'll have some agents and stuff that in certain situations, someone gets an email and gets the information, hey, look at that case a little bit closer. I listed some examples for this here. Like one example is an EGM shouldn't lose connection for more than 4 hours in a row. So after 4 hours of losing connection, someone gets an info and can look at that closer. Or if the logic box door was open, we can check the software inside and see if they're still installed, what's supposed to be installed. And well, then if something is not as we expected, in the next stage we can contact someone gets an automated email, as for example the province responsible, and can contact the concessionaire. Yeah, what we plan to do, that looks really cool, I think, and Ethan really liked that as well, is we plan to do an on-site support, mobile support. That's not implemented yet. We're still looking at it if that helps, and we might implement mobile support. We see some screenshots here. That would be like the on-site inspector goes out and selects a location, and he can select in the location. He has a checklist on what he should check on the location. That's also things that are not relevant in the communication. It's like if there are some illegal commercials or whatever in the location. And then he can scan the QR code with this mobile device. He gets a checklist what to control on this EGM. If the seal is okay, and if all the regulation is okay, there's a checklist about that. And then he can also do test games, for example. He can document what he put into the machine and what test games he did and what the counters should be and what they really are. Now that's something that's what you can do with the control system that I showed you before. It might be easier to have that done with a mobile solution, but we're still thinking if we will really implement that. But that would be a good help for on-site inspectors. Now, you got an overview on regulation, on the licensing part and control. I want to talk in the end a little bit about the challenges that we were and are facing. First of all, for us, for the Ministry of Finance and Federal Computing Center, the biggest challenge is to find someone implementing this G2S protocol for us, which finally was done by Comtrade, and also in such a small time frame. It was only 1.5 years or 1 year in the end time to implement everything. And also it was quite, I think so, at least what I think it was a good challenge also for the manufacturers, because we know we have a quite challenging regulation there, but I think the results are quite really good. Yeah, in the beginning we were really surprised how far we did almost a plug and play, but then as you know, the devil lies in detail. Now when we got live, and you can see the third point here, when you do live real-time operation with a full amount of machines, it's always quite different from just trying with one machine or with 2 or 3 machines. Well, that were the biggest challenges. Operation started on the 1st of August in Austria, after coping with some challenges also with the G2S communication, where we got good support. Again, we got 799 machines connected. Until the end of 2014, we reckon with 5,000 machines, and all in all it would be up to 15,000 machines. Well, so far it's like 3 manufacturers having already implemented or working on solutions for the Austrian market. We would definitely be interested in more EGMs available with fulfilling our regulations. But in the end, I really want to thank GSA for supporting us in establishing this system, and especially Ethan, because he did a really good support in the last 2 or 3 years. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank Gerhard and Martin for making the trip and accepting our invitation to be the keynote. I think it's very exciting to see what you can do with standards. I mean, that application I was completely unaware of. It's amazing. And yes, the industry is working very hard in embracing these standards, but it's because of people like yourself, Austrian governments, as well as some other people like the Canadians who understands the benefits of open standards and therefore pull open standards into the market. So thank you for accepting the invitation. I'd like to conclude the annual session with some recognition. First of all the committee chairs, and I was told that there is a new chair announced for the PUI, right? Or
John Taylor.
John Taylor. Oh, John. You can't get away, right? Yeah. So all these chair people really do a phenomenal job trying to herding cats, so to speak, and without the leadership in the committees, we would not be able to do what we do. In addition, I also like to thank a team that I have. I'm very, very fortunate in my life to work with excellent people. So thank you very much. Lisa, Michelle, Gina, Ethan, great job. Well, this is our 15th year, and what we decided to do is to recognize the people who actually created the standards. The amount of work and effort that went into this is most people do not comprehend. And as you can see, 1,783 plus people since the inception have contributed to the creation of standards. There are 2 lists on both sides. If your name is not on that list, and it's also on our website, if your name is not on that list, you can log into the website, put your name into that, we'll validate that, and we'll make sure you're on that list. So just think about the effort that went into the creation. This morning I was told that there was a country trying to create also a standard for gaming. I asked myself, good luck. It's a big effort. So thank you for all those volunteer people, 15 years of hard work. Then there's another company I'd like to recognize, and that's simply because this is the second company I believe that has a product certified. They went through GSA certification. I know, for those who know, GSA certification was created 5-6 years ago. There's a company, I think, a year or 2 years ago, and GLI tested this company, Intralot, and they've been approved, I think, on G2S and Transport, correct? So those are the 2 certificates. So for those who would like to see your certificate, there you go, that's how it looks like. So you know that they correctly implemented those specific classes, and there's a lot of detail behind that, but those are the 2 certificates. And for that, I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody for attending, and hope to see you next year. Thank you.